Hello, everyone. So I am live once again on my YouTube channel. So I don't have a lot of subscribers. And my last YouTube video that I did, which of course I went live, I got a lot more likes. And so I'm thinking maybe if I could do more live videos about whatever topics that I'm going to be talking about, people will like me more. But anyway, it's going to be kind of an odd video that I'm going to be talking about today. And yes, at the very end of the video, it's going to be connecting to JWORG, the Watchtowers organization, aka the governing body religion. But it is concerning my Aunt Terry. And I'm going to go way back into the 90s until now, 2026. Me and my Aunt Terry. And something that I really never knew about until very recently. So I'm going to tell you the story behind her and what kind of relationship her and I had back in the day. Of course, this is on my dad's side of my family, not on my mom's side. This is the Hernandez side of the family. Now, everything I'm going to be telling you, it's pretty much, actually, I'm not going to tell you yet, but let me tell you the backstory behind her and I back in the days. So I'm sure most of you know that I was born and raised as one of Jehovah's Witness for more than 27 years of my life. And I can't confirm this, but I don't think my Aunt Terry was also born and raised Jehovah's Witness. She's now probably in the 60s. Of course, her and I haven't talked for decades. But I'm sure I know at a very young age, and maybe I could be wrong, because if I think about my dad, who is the oldest of the 11 children of my aunts and uncles, my dad started getting involved as one of Jehovah's Witness back in 1971, which is in my upcoming memoir or autobiography that's going to be published very soon. So again, it doesn't matter when my Aunt Terry became a Jehovah's Witness, but I know at a very young age if she was not born into it. So a little backstory behind my Aunt Terry. So back into the 80s and 90s, of course, my Aunt Terry was a very devout Jehovah's Witness. And I've talked about this in the past. Ever since my dad was 5 years old, back in 1959-ish, late 1950s, when my dad was a young kid, my grandparents bought um, some property in Pierce, Arizona, which is considered a ghost town in Arizona. And my grandparents, pretty much to this day, all own. I can't even tell you how many acreage of land that they owned. And again, we're in 2026, so we're going way back to over 60 years that my grandparents owned this land. And so the little backstory of the land that they owned. My grandparents owned a huge bought, and maybe not be as big as it was then compared to now, but they bought a huge 5 bedroom, 3 bath house. And years later, of course, after I was born in 1977, they also owned basically an abandoned house right next to my grandparents' house. And then next to that abandoned house, they had a trailer, a single wide trailer, which currently my Aunt Esther has been occupied for many, many years. And then next to that was also another trailer that's pretty much been moved into by different family members or my relatives. And at the very end of this private land was my Aunt Terry's house. My Aunt Terry's house was not a trailer. It was actually a house, really nice one. And so back in the 80s and definitely the 90s, um, I used to, when me and my little brother were little kids, and we would spend weeks at a time in the summertime when we didn't have no school, no elementary school, middle school, high school, and would spend to go visit our relatives, go, of course, see my grandmother, my all of my other aunts and uncles. And one of the things that I did a lot over the summer times, again, this is the 80s and 90s, that I would spend like days. I would never spend it for the night at my Aunt Terry's house, but I would pretty much spend the days hanging out at Terry's house. And though I can't confirm this, again, this is all speculation, I don't recall until now Terry ever worked. Her husband, Carmine, God rest his soul, pretty much all I knew growing up as a Jehovah's Witness and growing up as a child, my Aunt Terry's husband worked at a state prison in Douglas, Arizona, which is literally the border of Mexico and Arizona. And so don't recall that ever remember back in the days when I was growing up as a child that my Aunt Terry ever worked. She's pretty much a stay at home kind of woman. Her husband worked, and I'm guessing she didn't need to work. And so I do very fondly remember um, whenever I would spend time visiting my Hernandez family on my dad's side of the family. Of course, it's discontinued for decades now, but there used to be a thing called a weekly book studies at the Jehovah's Witness. And it would be an hour long. Sometimes it would be at a Kingdom Hall. Sometimes it would be, of course, the big thing was having it at someone's home, Jehovah's Witness home. And my Aunt Terry, she was one of the ones that she would have her weekly book study that Jehovah's Witnesses used to do. And so, of course, I'm just giving the background story of my Aunt Terry. And so, whenever they had book study on Tuesdays, I'd always spend the night, stay at my grandparents' house, and it was walking distance. Literally, you take your less than 5 minutes from my grandparents' house to my Aunt Terry's house when they would have their book study. And again, as I was telling before, I used to spend like days at a time just hang out with Terry's house. Doo-doo-doo. He was a good Jehovah's Witness. Everything was great. And so years later, and though I can't recall what year or what time it happened, but when I got older, and as I told you before, I literally walked away. It was not disfellowshipped, and I wasn't forced to leave the Watchtowers organization. I volunteeringly, as a 27-year-old baptized Jehovah's Witness, I volunteeringly told my mother, I don't want to be Jehovah's Witness anymore. Again, we're not here talking about myself, about my Aunt Terry. And so, long story short, I don't remember what year Terry left the Watchtowers organization. I don't remember if she left before I did or she did after. Remember, I'm almost 49 years old, and I was 27 when I left the Watchtowers organization. I'm coming up to 22 years since I left. Remember, Armageddon was supposed to be coming a long time ago. But in which way, I remember Terry just walked away. Of course, to this day, I have zero clue why she left in the beginning. Did she walk away? Was she just felt like, I don't care. It's not about that, why she left, but she did leave. And so, um, ironically, I guess I could use that phrase. Of course, I didn't know this till years later. I did find out many, many years ago. Now, keep in mind, my grandmother to this day in 2026, my grandmother's still an active Jehovah's Witness. My Esther is an active Jehovah's Witness in the Spanish congregation with her mom. My Aunt Lorena, she's a Jehovah's Witness in the Spanish congregation. Of course, my dad, my Uncle Sam, he's also one of them too. But in the beginning, when I found out this years ago, I don't know how I found out, and it was confirmed that for whenever year happened, my Aunt Terry, after I know she owned that house in Pierce, Arizona, and I'm pretty sure the house was paid for. No more mortgage, no nothing. 'Cause they had that house like forever and ever. And so when I found out the very beginning that Terry left her hometown of Pierce, Arizona. Again, Google the word Pierce, Arizona. It will be classified or deemed as a ghost town. It is. Terry and her husband left Pierce and moved to Tucson, Arizona. Now, Tucson, Arizona is about an hour and a half away from Pierce, Arizona. And of course, Tucson's also the second to the largest city in Arizona. Of course, Phoenix is the biggest, also the largest city in the nation, in the United States. And so, for the longest time, until I found out the rumors, that I thought, you know what? I bet you the biggest reason why my Aunt Terry left Pierce is because the whole behind the scenes is no longer a Jehovah's Witness. I was thinking, just speculating, my personal opinion, that she got tired. She got tired of her mother. She got tired of her other siblings who are Jehovah's Witnesses, English or Spanish, including even my dad, who's now what, almost 72 years old. And I thought that for the longest time that um the reason why she left, she's like, I'm done with this. I'm tired, pressured. I'm tired of my siblings. I'm tired. Maybe in Wilcox, Arizona, maybe they pressured her too. Sister, so and so, come back to Jehovah. Come back. Of course, that means come back to the Watchtower, also known as the governing body. Come back, come back, come back. Oh. And she's like, oh, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being pressured. I'm not coming back for whatever reason. Again, I don't know the reason. That's not the point. Why I'm doing this video. I just thought, she got tired of it all. Done. Until I found out, and this has been about a year at least or longer, give or take a little. I found out, again, I'm not talking bad about my Aunt Terry, I'm just stating the facts. I found out, I spoke to one of my relatives, I'm not going to use no names. One of my relatives who's never been a Jehovah's Witness, she told me the story behind it. That her husband, he's been dead for quite a while, for many years now, that my Aunt Terry's husband died. And I think it was some type of cancer. Don't quote me, but he died from a health problem. Again, everything I'm going to tell you right this second is just all my speculation, just my personal opinion. Don't quote me. My personal opinion, it could be both actually too. I don't know. But me personally, as I early in the story, I never recall or remember Terry ever worked in her life. 70s and earlier back in the day, she's single and everything. But being married, I've never seen her ever work. She's always a stay-at-home woman. Her husband worked full time. It takes you exactly 50 minutes. You can quote me, 50 minutes from their hometown of Pierce, Arizona to Douglas to go to he worked at the state prison for decades and back. And so now I was thinking about this and I thought, I think there's a lot more to the real reason why my Aunt Terry moved to Tucson and actually going back to Pierce. There's a twist to this. My br- so right now, and I don't know how many years it's been, and it's been a what many, many years. I did find out many, many years ago that Mary, in her later years, probably in the 40s or older, even the 50s for that matter, I did find out and it was confirmed that my Aunt Terry went to school and became a registered nurse, an RN, which of course an RN only takes you 2 years. It's not like you're going to become a doctor. And she started working, I'm guessing full time, at that little tiny one-story hospital in Wilcox, Arizona. But then, of course, I can it could have been 6 months, it could have been a year, it could be a couple years, but after she was there working full time, getting her RN degree, working at the small one-story hospital in Wilcox, Arizona, all of a sudden I find out that Terry's moving to Tucson, Arizona. Again, I thought she was doing it because the whole Jehovah's Witness reason, but my personal opinion, it could be again, it could be both reasons or one reason. Or of course it could be both wrong. But I think the real reason why Terry decided I need to work now, and I don't want to work at a again Pierce in Sunsites is a real small town. That's in Sunsites. It's a hole in the wall. There's a little gas station, some churches, and houses. That's it. That her husband started getting really sick, slowly but surely. And she's like, you know what? My husband can't keep driving back and forth to from Pierce, Arizona to Douglas and back to the state prison. And so Terry's like, oh shit, I need to work. So I'm like, I'm gonna do something good paying job, fast food, not working at a grocery store because there's a Safeway in Wilcox. She's like, I need a good paying job. And so I think she thought I need to start working. So I'm gonna go to before my husband Carmine gets any more sicker with his cancer or his disease. I need to start do something about this. And of course she did. She did go got her degree, got an RN. Even her son, Carmichael Jr. We'll call him that. He actually got a doctorate degree, a medical doctorate degree, very high up. And so again, I'm just speculating. It's my personal opinion, and I think that Wilcox again is a small hole in the wall town also too, and the pay probably not as good as money there either. Again, it could also be the family too, the whole JW's talk. But I think she's like, you know what? And I also think too is when you if you have cancer, usually you have to go through well not the rehab center. What's it called? Therapy. What's that called when you have to do need to get that weekly cycle when you have cancer? You know what I'm talking about. And I think he had to start going to the cancer center and her working full time and someone taking care of him 24/7 when his disease got worse. She's like, this is too hard for me. Of course, all her kids are all married now, all moved out. They're by themselves. And so I think she's like, you know what, we need to do something more convenient, we'll call it that. And so she thought, you know what, let's go to Tucson, Arizona. I could get a lot more pay as her RN, registered nurse, and and while she's working, and I'm sure you know when you're an RN, you're in a hospital, you're going to be working some crazy long hours. Kind of like my route. I work 12, 13, 14 hours a day sometimes. And she couldn't take care of him 24/7 when she's working. And so maybe a caretaker had to take care of him while she's gone working. Again, this is speculation, this is my personal opinion. And so after she moved to to Tucson, Arizona, again his cancer was slowly but surely getting worse. And sadly, I don't recall when he died, been many years. He died. And I don't know the whole story behind it. I'm sure if you know my Hernandez family, they are a knit family, no matter who you are. They don't care if you're a Jehovah's Witness, if you are an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and you're part of this family, even if you're gay. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Manny, and married to a man, married to a doctorate degree in chemistry. I think that they're just like that, no matter what. And so I think after Carmine died, again, just my speculating, and we keep saying that they had a funeral, and it was a big one. I'm not saying big one, but I'm referring to the family. Everyone was there. My dad was there. All of Terry's siblings were there. Uncle Carlos, Uncle David, of course, Manny and his husband, if they were already together, and Virginia, Esther, Terry, Martha, of course, my grandmother, they were all there. And the funeral, they pretty much, it might have not happened the day of the funeral, but I think people went back to her and said, if she wasn't already back as their religion, I can't confirm it, but I think the guilt, like what most people do, they pressured Terry and said, okay, I'm so sorry, Terry, about your husband passing away. Here we go again. Come back to Jehovah. Of course, when you use that word, come back to Jehovah, that means come back to the governing body of the Watchtowers organization. You can never just say, come back to Jehovah. You have to say, basically, come back to Jehovah's and Jehovah's organization. And I can't confirm it, but from what my a relative who heard the story behind it, that when she had a family reunion, and it's been a while now, but though she herself couldn't confirm it, pretty much when the fun started happening, the family gathering, and all the Joel Witnesses relatives went their separate way, like, oh no, they're drinking alcohol, they're doing this, they're doing that. So did Terry. Terry's like, oh nope, I'm not gonna do that. Again, I can't confirm, but I do know for sure too that I didn't know that recently that Terry got remarried. And though again, I don't know who this guy is at all. I don't know his name. Don't care. But and I can't even confirm if this guy who Aunt Terry's married to now is an active Jehovah's Witness. But I did find out that my Aunt Terry, long after her husband died, and I'm guessing long after, but whenever she started dating and she got remarried, I do know from what I'm hearing that she went back to Pierce, Arizona, currently in 2026. So obviously, she wouldn't have would have left in the beginning to Tucson, Arizona, if it was the whole Jehovah's Witness thing. Because if that was the whole Jehovah's Witness thing, then Terry wouldn't be back to, and if she's not an active Jehovah's Witness, she wouldn't go back to her hometown of Pierce, Arizona, the ghost town. She would still have that thing in her mind saying, oh yeah, I'm not going back to Pierce, Arizona. Even though my husband died and I'm remarried, and maybe this guy's not a Jehovah's Witness, I'm not going to Pierce, Arizona, because then I'm going to be bombarded by my Jehovah's Witness relatives, including my dad, Victor Sr. But she did anyway. So obviously, again, I don't know the answer. So again, did she, did my Aunt Terry, the guy she's married to, did she come back? Again, I'm probably not, I might not ever find out the reason why. So I'm just talking, chit chatting, going live. But my point, what really happened with my Aunt Terry? She don't talk to me at all. I haven't talked to her forever. I even probably less than 6 months ago when I found out about her husband died, like X years ago, and she remarried and everything. I even private messaged her on Facebook Messenger. Say, hey Terry, this is your basically your nephew Victor. Hey, I'm so sorry. I heard that your husband Carmine passed away X amount of years ago. I didn't know that even. I'm so sorry. That's it. I might have ended to say, I'm doing good. Blah, 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 blah. Of course, I got no response at all. Remember, the Hernandez family, pretty much all my siblings, all my aunts and uncles never talked to me. Y'all know the reason. Yeah, Samson Consuelo Hernandez. Anyway, I just wanted to go live and just talk about my Harry, what really happened. I really wish I knew what really happened. I would love to just because I'm just when I'm nosy. Did my Aunt Terry, after her husband died, did she come back to the Watchtowers organization? Did your siblings, did the Jehovah's guilt give you a guilt trip? It does a lot with a lot of people who die or you're get sick. Just like Mark's mother, Dorothy. from what Mark told me, when she was healthy and doing good, she was pretty much doing everything she wanted to do against the Watchtower's organization. She com- she committed fornication. She was a cigarette smoker, which that's all the offense. And suddenly, when Dorothy got sick and she got severe rheumatoid arthritis long before she died, just suddenly, oh, I'm gonna read the old Dark Maroon, Live Forever, but not Live Forever book, the Greatest Man book, and oh, Jehovah this, Jehovah that, Jehovah this, Jehovah that. Again, is it the same thing like my Aunt Terry? Did she just pretty much, I didn't care, I don't care, I didn't care? I don't know. But I just wanted to talk. I know I'm talking over 25 minutes now. I know I'm live. So again, if you know anything, if you know my relatives on my dad's side of the family, if you know my dad, Victor Sr., or if you know my stepmom, Ginger, remember they all shun me. I like I said, I talked about this 5 million times before. My dad wants nothing to do with me. And if you don't believe me, go talk to my dad, especially if you're not a Jehovah's Witness. I haven't, the last time I spoke to my dad was back in 2019. We're in 2026. And what happened in 2019? That's when my grandfather on my dad's side, and I went to their Jehovah's Witness memorial. They don't believe in funerals. Memorial service at the Kingdom Hall. No, my dad was very fairly nice then, not like when my cousin Danny died. I walked into the funeral home, open casket and all, instead of him saying, "Oh, Victor, hi, how you doing?" First phrase he said was, "What are you doing here?" I almost wanted to slap his face and say, "How dare you tell me what am I doing here? I'm at a funeral home." Anyway, so I just wanted to give him a little venting about my Aunt Terry. And yeah, if you know my Aunt Terry too, she lives back, from my understanding, she lives back in Pierce, Arizona. So obviously, if it was a Jehovah's Witness thing, she wouldn't go back, but she did. So again, if you know, does anyone know if my Aunt Terry's back as a Jehovah's Witness? Again, I don't live in Arizona anymore. I live in the state of Washington, so it's not like I could go take a day trip to Elcox and suddenly pop up the Kingdom Hall and say, "Hey, oh Terry, you must be an active Jehovah's Witness." I'm just curious. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy my little video, and I guess until next time, hopefully I'll do another live video tomorrow, and we'll just go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, everyone.